The first morning Alina stepped onto the grounds of the cliffside estate, she understood immediately why people whispered about it the way they did. The iron gates were not decorative. The cameras were not subtle. The silence itself felt guarded, as if the land had learned obedience the same way people did. Waves crashed far below the cliffs, but even the ocean sounded restrained here, its roar softened by height and distance, as though it knew better than to challenge the man who owned everything above it. Alina kept her head down as she followed the house manager through the entrance hall, her footsteps light, careful, practiced. She had learned long ago how to take up as little space as possible. Surviving required it. Dreaming was a luxury she had never been able to afford. This job was not about ambition or curiosity. It was about rent paid on time, food in the fridge, and staying invisible long enough to keep both. The staff spoke in fragments, half-sentences, warnings disguised as instructions. Do not linger. Do not ask questions. Do not touch anything that is not yours. And above all, do not touch him. His name was rarely spoken aloud. When it was, voices lowered instinctively, as if the walls themselves might report disobedience. She was assigned to the West Wing first, then quietly redirected to the library. The request alone made her stomach tighten. The library was not a common area. It was described as his space, a place no one entered unless summoned. But Alina nodded anyway, accepting the task with the same calm obedience she applied to everything else. The library was vast and imposing, lined floor to ceiling with dark wood shelves filled with old books and ledgers that smelled of leather and dust and history. Sunlight filtered through tall glass panels, illuminating the polished marble floor in wide pale stripes. It was a room built for control, every chair placed with intention, every surface immaculate. Silence lived here, thick and deliberate, as if sound itself had been trained to behave. Alina moved carefully, pushing the automated cleaner along the far edge of the room, keeping her presence minimal. She focused on the small things, a misplaced bookmark, a faint smudge on the table, anything to keep her thoughts from wandering to the weight of the room pressing down on her chest. She did not hear him enter. The cleaner suddenly veered, its soft mechanical hum shifting into an uneven pitch as it caught the edge of the rug. Alina turned instinctively, stepping forward to steady it, and that was when the marble betrayed her. Her foot slipped. Her balance disappeared. The world tilted. For a single suspended second, time stretched thin. Then she fell. Not to the floor, not to safety, but forward and down, directly into the solid, unmoving presence of a man seated behind her. Her palms struck his chest. Her knees landed on either side of his legs. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs as the tablet in his hand slipped free and hit the rug with a muted sound that echoed too loudly in the silence. Everything froze. Alina felt it before she understood it, the strength beneath her hands, the tension in his body, the way the air itself seemed to tighten around them. She waited for pain, for a shove, for a violent reaction she had been warned about in hushed tones. It never came. Instead, strong hands wrapped around her waist, firm and immediate, steadying her as if her fall had triggered something instinctive, something older than thought. His grip was controlled but unyielding, as though letting go was not an option he could access in that moment. She lifted her eyes and met his. The man everyone feared did not look angry. He looked startled. Not shocked in the way of inconvenience, but shaken, as if something inside him had fractured without warning. His jaw was tight, his breath uneven, and his eyes, dark and intense, searched her face with an expression she could not name. His voice came low, rough, unguarded. "Don't you dare leave." The words were not loud. They were not a threat. They sounded like a command only because they carried too much truth to be anything else. They slipped out of him as if he had not meant to say them, as if they belonged to a place he kept sealed off from the world. Alina's heart slammed against her ribs. She scrambled upright instantly, mortification burning through her as she stammered apologies she barely heard herself say. She backed away, her hands trembling as she retrieved the fallen tablet and placed it on the table without meeting his gaze again. He did not yell, he did not move. He simply watched her. The silence stretched, heavy and charged, and Alina felt it chase her as she fled the room, her pulse racing long after her feet carried her down the hallway. Her skin still burned where his hands had held her, the echo of his whisper lodged deep in her chest like something unfinished. Behind her, in the quiet library, the most untouchable man in the underworld remained seated, staring at the space she had occupied, his hands clenched at his sides as if letting go had cost him something vital. And neither of them understood, yet, why a single accidental fall had broken a rule that had never been broken before. Alina did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the echo of his hands on her waist, the impossible strength, held back by restraint the way the room had gone still, as if the house itself had recognized something forbidden. By morning, she had convinced herself of one thing. She was finished. Men like him did not make mistakes, and they did not forgive them either. The name he carried was not just feared, it was enforced. He was known among staff and soldiers alike as a man who ruled through discipline, not mercy, a man who allowed no one close enough to mistake his silence for safety. Touch was forbidden. Proximity was punished. Weakness was erased. That was what the whispers said. So when Alina stepped back into the estate with careful breath and eyes lowered, she expected consequences. She expected a summons, a warning, or worse. But none came. Instead, the house moved around her as if nothing had happened. Staff passed her without comment, guards nodded with the same blank acknowledgement, and yet something felt different. Not loud or not obvious. Watchful. Every room she entered carried the faint sense of being observed, not hunted, but noticed. It unsettled her more than anger would have. In the kitchen, she overheard two senior staff speaking in hushed tones. One said the boss was distracted. The other said that never happened. Someone joked about the automated cleaner malfunctioning again, but the laugh died quickly, as if humor itself felt unsafe. Alina kept her hands busy polishing, wiping, folding anything to avoid thinking about the library and the man she had fallen into. Until she saw him. He moved through the corridor with quiet authority, his presence altering the air before his footsteps arrived. Tall, controlled, dressed in black as always. But something in him was off. He paused where he normally did not. Stopped near doorways without reason. Stood still, as if listening to something no one else could hear. When Alina stepped aside to give him space, he did not recoil. He slowed. Just enough. His gaze brushed her like a test. Not sharp. Not cold. Measuring. She felt it travel across her shoulders, down her spine, and settle in her chest. Then he passed her without a word. Her knees weakened only after he was gone. Later, the house manager pulled her aside, eyes wide with disbelief. He asked about you. Alina froze. Asked what? Who brewed the coffee this morning? Alina swallowed. Me. The manager stared at her like she had spoken a foreign language. In 20 years, he has never asked that. The words sank deep and heavy. This was not anger. This was not punishment. This was something far more dangerous. Attention. That evening, Alina worked near the edge of the West Wing when she felt him again. This time closer. He stopped behind her, not touching, not speaking. The silence between them stretched tight enough to snap. Finally, his voice came low and restrained. Thank you. She turned before she could stop herself. For what? His eyes held hers longer than necessary. For not flinching. Then he walked away, leaving her breathless and shaking. That night, Alina sat alone in the staff quarters, replaying everything. The instinctive way he had caught her. The way his voice had broken when he whispered. The absence of violence where everyone promised it would be. She remembered the warnings. He does not allow touch. He does not forgive closeness. He does not hesitate. But yesterday, he had hesitated. He had held her. And worse, he had asked her not to leave. In another part of the estate, The mafia boss stood alone in his private room, fists clenched jaw tight, fighting a battle no one could see. Because for years, his body had learned one rule. Touch meant betrayal. Closeness meant loss. Hesitation meant death. And yet, when she fell into him, his hands had moved before memory could stop them. He had not felt Ray. He had felt fear. Not of her, but of what it meant that she had not triggered the walls he built with blood and discipline. Elena Brooks was not powerful, not dangerous, not part of his world, and yet she had undone him without trying. And that was why he could not look away. Because if one accidental fall could break a rule that had protected him for years, then the question was no longer why she had fallen into his lap. The question was why she was the only one who could stay there without destroying him. Elena learned quickly that distance inside the estate was an illusion. No matter how carefully she timed her steps, no matter how small she made herself, his presence found her like gravity. She was reassigned again, without explanation. Library duties expanded. Errands redirected. Paths crossed that never should have. It was subtle enough to deny intentionality. Deliberate enough to feel dangerous. She told herself it was coincidence. She told herself to focus on her work. She told herself not to think about the way the air changed when he was near. But the house did not lie. The silence bent around him. And when he entered a room, the walls seemed to hold their breath. Elena felt it every time. He never touched her again. Never raised his voice. Never spoke more than necessary. And yet he watched. Not openly. Not in ways that could be named. But in the pauses. In the slight turns of his head. In the way he stayed still when she passed instead of moving away. The staff noticed. Whispers followed her down corridors. Looks lingered longer than comfort allowed. Someone muttered that she was marked. Another said she would not last. Elena pretended not to hear. She had survived worse than rumors. What she did not expect was the loneliness. It revealed itself slowly in him. In the way he lingered in the library, long after midnight. In the untouched chair across from his own. In the habit of standing at windows, as if watching for something that never arrived. One afternoon, she heard raised voices near the service stairs. Two guards speaking too freely. He is unstable, one said. People like him always are. Elena stopped before she thought. That is not true. The words left her mouth quiet but firm. Both men turned startled. You do not know him, one added. Neither do you, Elena replied. The silence that followed was sharp. She turned away, heart-racing, fingers trembling. She did not see him at first. But she felt him. Standing behind the corner, where the corridor narrowed. He had heard everything. Their eyes met. And something unguarded flickered across his face. Not anger. Not warning. Something dangerously close to gratitude. He said nothing. But that night, her assignment list changed again. Library access unrestricted. Morning delivery, assigned personally. Security clearance expanded without comment. The estate was rearranging itself around her. And that frightened her more than punishment would have. Later, she found him alone in the gym. His knuckles wrapped. His breath uneven. Rage barely contained beneath iron control. He noticed her presence instantly. You should not be here. His voice was sharp but tired. You are bleeding, she said. He looked at his hands as if they belonged to someone else. It does not matter. She stepped closer without touching. Pain always matters. He stared at her as though she had spoken a language he had forgotten. For a moment, he looked like a man standing on the edge of collapse. Then he turned away. Leave. She hesitated, then obeyed. But something had shifted. Because he had not threatened her, had not punished her, had not driven her away with fear. He had only asked her to leave. And in another part of the estate, long after she was gone, He sat alone, gripping the bench, breathing through something violent and unfamiliar. Because proximity with her did not make him lose control. It reminded him of what control was supposed to protect. And that truth terrified him. Alina lay awake, that night understanding something she did not want to admit. She was no longer invisible. And in a world built on fear, being seen by a man like him was either a death sentence or the beginning of something that would cost them both everything. The night it happened, the estate did not sleep. Lights stayed on in corridors that were usually dark. Guards moved faster, voices clipped steps sharper. The air carried the metallic edge of violence that never reached the walls, but left its shadow behind. Alina felt it the moment she entered the West Wing. Something was wrong. She tried to turn back, but instinct pushed her forward. Not curiosity. Not bravery. Something quieter. The same pull that had drawn her into the library that first morning. She found him in the private medical room, the one rarely used, because he trusted no one with his body. He was seated on the edge of the table, shirt, discarded hands braced on the surface, as if holding himself upright required effort. Blood stained the wrap around his ribs, dark and spreading. His jaw was locked, eyes distant, breathing controlled but strained. He did not look up when she entered. "You should not be here." His voice was low, not threatening, but tight. The doctor had already gone. The guards were gone too. Only Alina remained, standing in the doorway, heart hammering. "You are hurt," she said. His mouth curved in something bitter. "It is nothing." She stepped closer before fear could stop her. Not touching. Never touching. The lie sat heavy between them. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, and when he opened them, something raw slipped through the cracks. "They tried to take something that belongs to me." She did not ask what. She did not ask who. She only nodded, as if understanding that in his world loss always arrived wearing the same face. "Let me help," she said quietly. He laughed, once humorless. "You do not want to help me." She met his gaze, steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I want to." The silence stretched long enough to feel dangerous. Then he nodded, once sharp, decisive. "Do not touch me." She agreed immediately. Carefully, she cleaned the blood, replaced the wrap, her movements precise, respectful, every inch measured. He watched her the entire time, waiting for disgust, waiting for fear, waiting for the recoil that always came. It never did. Her presence did not tighten his chest, did not ignite the old alarms. Instead, something in him loosened against his will. "Why are you still here?" he asked. "Because you told me not to leave." The words hit him harder than the wound. He turned his head away, breath hitching once before he mastered it. "That was a mistake." "No," she said softly. "It was not." He looked at her, then truly looked. And for the first time she saw it. The exhaustion beneath the power. The guilt etched into every line of his control. "People think I am dangerous," he said. "They are wrong." She waited. "I am careful," he continued. "Too careful. I learned that restraint keeps people alive." His hands clenched. "But when I lose control, people get hurt." Alina felt her chest tighten. "You did not hurt me." His eyes flicked to her sharp. "Not yet." The words carried more fear than threat. She stayed silent, letting him speak or not speak. After a long moment, his voice dropped. "Someone once used my closeness to destroy everything I built." The confession hovered heavy. "Trust is leverage. Touch is leverage." He inhaled slowly. "And then you fell into me." She felt the truth land between them. "I did not feel danger," he admitted. "I felt panic. Because, for 1 second, I forgot to hold myself back." Alina swallowed. "You held me." "Yes." As if it was inevitable. She did not move closer. Did not reach out. But her voice was steady. "You did not lose control. You chose care." The word seemed to strike something deep. Care was not a language his world allowed. He looked away again, jaw tightening. You should go. This time, it was not an order. It was a plea. She hesitated only a heartbeat. Then she nodded. As she turned to leave, he spoke again. Elena. She paused. Do not mistake my restraint for safety. She answered without turning. Do not mistake your fear for danger. The door closed softly behind her. Alone again, he sat in the quiet medical room staring at his hands. Hands that had broken men, ended wars, built empires, and yet trembled when they remembered holding a woman who did not fear them. For the first time in years, the injury in his ribs was not what ached. It was the knowledge that she had seen him wounded, and had stayed, and in a world where everyone left. That was the most dangerous thing of all. The storm arrived without warning. Clouds rolled in heavy and low, pressing against the cliffs, until the ocean below disappeared into darkness. Wind rattled the glass panels and bent the tall trees along the property line, as if the land itself was bowing. By the time the lights flickered, the estate was already holding its breath. Elena was in the east corridor when the power cut completely. No hum, no backup lights, no quiet glow from the walls. Only darkness. Her heart jumped, but she steadied herself, reaching for the small flashlight kept in her apron. Training over panic. Always. She moved slowly, checking doors, listening for movement. The estate felt different in the dark. Less controlled. More honest. Then she heard it. A sharp exhale, followed by the heavy thud of something striking leather. She froze. The sound came again. Closer this time. She followed it to the gym. The door was ajar. Light spilled from the emergency lantern, inside, casting long shadows across the floor. He stood in the center of the room, fists wrapped, knuckles raw, driving blow after blow into the hanging bag. Each strike carried rage, but also restraint, as if he was stopping himself from hitting harder. Blood marked the canvas. His breath came uneven, shoulders tight, with something close to breaking. Elena stepped inside. His name left her mouth before she could stop it. He turned sharply. You should not be here. His voice cut, but there was fear under it, not anger. You are bleeding, she said. He laughed once empty. It does not matter. She shook her head slowly. It does. He turned away, pressing his forehead against the bag, breathing hard. They are watching again. Digging. Dragging up everything. She moved closer, not touching. You are not alone. The words settled into the space between them. His hands dropped to his sides, fingers flexing like they wanted something they could not reach. That is the problem, he said. He turned to face her fully now. When I am not alone, people get hurt. Elena met his gaze steady. I am not afraid. His breath caught. You should be. She took another step closer, stopping just within reach. I am still here. The silence stretched thick and electric. Then the lights flickered back on. Brightness flooded the room, too fast, too harsh. He flinched, instinctively turning away, raising a hand, as if shielding himself. She acted without thinking. Reached out just enough to steady him. Fingers brushing his arm. The contact was brief. Light. Accidental. But it was enough. His entire body went still. Breath locked. Jaw tight. For a terrifying second, Elena thought she had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. Then slowly, carefully, he turned back to her. Do not move. His voice was low, rough, controlled. She froze, heart pounding. He lifted his hand, hesitating inches from her face. Asking without words. She did not step back. His fingers brushed her cheek, barely there. His breath shuddered. I do not know how to do this, he whispered. Do what she asked. Feel. The words seemed to unravel him. He leaned forward, stopping just short of her lips, forehead resting against hers. His hands hovered at her waist, not gripping, not claiming. If I cross this line, he said. I may not know how to stop. She whispered back. Then let it be slow. The kiss came like a question. Gentle, unsure, trembling. No force, no hunger, only careful, aching need. It lasted seconds. Felt like years. Then he pulled away suddenly. Stepping back, chest heaving, eyes wide with panic. This cannot happen. Alina reached for him, stopping herself at the last second. You are not hurting me. He shook his head fiercely. I will. Eventually. Everyone leaves broken. He turned away, pacing, hands tangled in his hair. Leave. Please. The word tore through her. She did not argue. She left the room quietly, heart splitting with every step. Behind her, he stood alone in the light, fighting the urge to follow. To pull her back. To say the words burning in his chest. Because the truth terrified him. He wanted her. Not to own. Not to protect. But to feel. And for a man built on control, wanting was the most dangerous thing of all. The lie did not begin inside the estate. It began outside the gates, where enemies waited patiently for weakness. By morning, the air felt different. Heavier. Charged with danger that did not belong to weather or coincidence. Alina sensed it before anyone spoke. The way guards tightened their grip on weapons. The way phones were checked and silenced. The way doors closed faster than usual. By midday, whispers moved faster than footsteps. They are saying things. Someone leaked something. They are using her name. Alina felt the words land in her chest before she understood them. Her. She was stacking linens when the house manager stopped, her hands trembling. Stay inside today. Do not go near the outer paths. Why? Alina asked. The woman swallowed. They are watching. From the upper floor, Alina saw it. Dark vehicles lining the distant road. Men pretending to be press. Cameras raised like threats. The world had found her. Panic crept in, cold and sharp. She had been careful. Invisible. Silent. But invisibility meant nothing when someone wanted a story. Inside the main hall, voices rose. Guards speaking fast. Orders issued and repeated. Then he appeared. His presence cut through the chaos like a blade. His face was calm. Too calm. The kind of stillness that came before violence. Alina felt it pull her forward against instinct. She stepped into the corridor just as shouting erupted outside the gates. Questions, accusations, insults. Her name again. A sound left her throat small and helpless. Before she could move, arms wrapped around her, pulling her back hard against a solid chest. His chest. He positioned himself between her and the door's body, shielding hers completely. His voice dropped low and lethal. Step back. The guards moved, instantly forming a wall. But he did not let go of her. His hand gripped her arm, steady, grounding. His breathing was tight, controlled, restrained by effort. Do not look, he murmured. She could feel his heart pounding through his coat. Outside, cameras flashed. Voices shouted. Is she your weakness? Are you hiding her? Did she seduce you? His grip tightened. Do not speak to her. The words were not shouted. They were worse. Quiet, certain, final. Security forced the gates closed. The noise dulled but did not disappear. Inside the hall, Alina finally breathed. Her legs shook. He turned to her instantly. Are you hurt? She shook her head. This is because of me, she whispered. His jaw tightened. This is because of them. He released her only when he was sure she was steady. They are testing me, he said. Using you to do it. Her chest tightened. I will leave. He stilled. No. I do not want to be a weapon against you. He stepped closer, voice breaking through restraint. You are not a weapon. You are not leverage. You are not bait. He lowered his forehead briefly, eyes closed. I failed to keep you invisible. The admission carried weight. She looked up at him, seeing something she had never seen before. Fear. Not of enemies. Not of power. Of losing her. Voices echoed again from outside. This does not stop, Alina said. He nodded. No. He lifted his head, eyes dark, resolved. Which means I stop it. That night the estate locked down fully. Calls were made. Warnings issued. Old alliances tested. And deep within the criminal world, a message spread quietly. She is off limits. Anyone who touches her answers to him. Alone later, Alina sat in her room, realizing the truth she had been avoiding. This was no longer an accident. No longer coincidence. The most feared man in the underworld had chosen to draw a line. And she was standing directly behind it. Whatever came next would not be gentle. Because when a mafia boss chose to protect someone, the world always demanded a price. The truth did not come all at once. It came in pieces, sharp and heavy. Alina found him after midnight in the study, the lights low, the windows darkened by fog rolling in from the sea. He was standing with his back to the room, hands braced on the desk, shoulders rigid, as if holding the world in place. You should not be here, he said without turning. She stepped inside anyway. Neither of them pretended this was about rules anymore. They are using me, she said quietly. He exhaled, slow and uneven. No, he said. They are using my past. She waited. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his voice dropped, stripped of power. You think they fear me because of what I do? He turned finally, and the look in his eyes stopped her breath. They fear me because of what I failed to stop. Alina felt the weight of it settle. Years ago, he continued. I trusted the wrong woman. I let her inside my world. He swallowed. She learned everything. Names. Roots. Weaknesses. Where loyalty cracked. His hands clenched. I thought love made me human. It made me careless. Alina stepped closer. What happened? He looked away again. People died. Good men. Men who believed in me. His voice shook once, then steadied. She sold everything to my enemies and called it survival. Silence filled the room. That is why I do not allow touch, he said. Not because I fear others. Because I fear what I become when I care. Alina felt her chest ache. You did not cause their deaths. His jaw tightened. I gave her the knife. She moved closer slowly. You learned. You survived. You changed. He shook his head. I built walls. Rules. Distance. His gaze found hers. Then you fell into me. The memory hit them both. And for 1 second, all those walls meant nothing. Alina whispered. You did not lose control. His breath hitched. I wanted to stay there. The admission cracked something open. I wanted to hold you and pretend the world could not reach us. His voice dropped lower. That is why I pushed you away. Because wanting you terrifies me more than any enemy. Alina reached out, stopping inches from his hand. You are not dangerous because you feel. You are dangerous because you believe you should not. He stared at her like the words cut deep. If you stay near me, he said, they will keep coming. They will use you until there is nothing left. She answered without hesitation. Then stop letting them decide. His breath trembled. You do not understand what you are standing in. She lifted her chin. I do. And I am still here. The silence stretched long and heavy. Finally, his voice broke. Why? She did not soften it. Because I see the man you are when you think no one is watching. His eyes burned. And if I leave, you will disappear again behind fear. He turned away, gripping the desk. I cannot promise safety. She stepped closer. I am not asking for safety. He closed his eyes. I cannot promise I will not fail. Her voice was steady. I am not asking for perfection. He turned back slowly. What are you asking for? She met his gaze fully. Truth. And the chance to stay. The room held its breath. Then he nodded once. Slow. Controlled. Final. Stay. The word was not whispered this time. It was chosen. And in that moment, both of them understood. This was no longer about danger or power. It was about whether a man built by violence could choose something gentler, and whether love could survive the truth instead of hiding from it. The decision came quietly, not with panic, not with drama, but with a heavy calm that settled into Alina's chest like a final breath before a fall. She watched him from across the room as dawn crept through the tall windows, his silhouette sharp against the pale light, still standing guard over a world that demanded everything from him. This was what loving him meant. Danger without pause. Eyes always watching. Knives hidden behind smiles. And she knew then. If she stayed, they would never stop coming. She waited until the house was quiet. Until the guards shifted positions. Until the corridors returned to their controlled silence. She packed only what she brought. A small bag. No letters. No explanations. Because explanations invited hope. And hope would make her stay. When she stepped into the hall, the walls felt different. As if they knew. As if the estate itself resisted her leaving. She moved past the library without entering. Past the place where everything began. Past the silence that had once wrapped around her like a warning. He found her at the service exit. Not by chance. Never by chance. Where are you going? His voice was steady. Too steady. She did not turn at first. I cannot stay. The words tasted like iron. The air shifted. He took a step closer. Then stopped. As if crossing that distance might shatter something beyond repair. You said you would stay. She nodded. I meant it. But staying is no longer kindness. She turned then. Met his eyes. They will keep using me. Every threat will point back to me. Every knife will look for my shadow. His jaw tightened. I can protect you. She shook her head. You already are. And that is the problem. The silence stretched heavy. You think leaving will save me. Her voice was soft. I think leaving will stop them from seeing me as your weakness. The word landed hard. Weakness. His expression cracked. Just slightly. You are not my weakness. She stepped back. You are wrong. I am the only place they can reach you now. He took another step. This time she did not retreat. If you walk away, he said, I will not stop you. The words were controlled. But something inside them was breaking. Because I know what it is to be trapped. Her breath shook. And if I ask you to stay, it will be because I am afraid to be alone. She swallowed. You are not alone. His eyes searched hers. Then why does this feel like losing everything? She stepped past him, her shoulder brushing his coat just barely. Because sometimes love means leaving before it becomes a weapon. His hand lifted, hesitated, fell. She opened the door. The outside air rushed in sharp and cold. The sound of the ocean distant and relentless. She stepped into it. Behind her, the door did not close immediately. Alina. Her name shattered her resolve. She stopped. Did not turn. His voice dropped. If you leave now, there will be no returning to what this was. She nodded once. I know. She walked down the path without looking back. Each step heavier than the last. Inside the estate he stood unmoving, watching her disappear beyond the gate. For the first time in years, the most feared man in the underworld did not feel powerful. He felt abandoned. And for Alina, every step away felt like tearing something vital from her chest. Because love had not failed them. Fear had. And the world had not finished collecting its price yet. Elena did not make it far. She reached the edge of the cliff road before the truth caught up with her. Sirens did not fall. Cars did not chase. Instead, a single black vehicle rolled to a stop beside her quiet deliberate. The door opened. She already knew who it was before she looked. He stood there without guards, without armor, without the weight of command. Just a man who had finally understood something too late. "Get in," he said. His voice was not an order. It was a plea stripped bare. She hesitated only a second before stepping inside. The car did not move immediately. He turned toward her slowly. "You were never supposed to leave alone." She closed her eyes. "You were never supposed to fall." He shook his head. "I did not follow. I remembered." The words made her open her eyes. Remembered what? He leaned back, staring at the road ahead. "Years ago, before my name meant anything, before the blood, before the power, there was a man who worked for me quietly. Brilliant. Strategic. Invisible." Her breath stilled. "He saved my life more times than I can count." His voice tightened. "He was betrayed. Set up. Killed." Elena's chest tightened painfully. "I searched for the truth for years." "Who did it? Why? Who ordered it?" He turned to her. "And then you walked into my house." Her pulse thundered. "You do not clean like someone afraid of authority. You do not speak like someone who believes lies." He swallowed. "You look at me like someone who already knows what monsters look like." Elena's voice shook. "You knew who I was." He nodded. "I knew your last name the moment I heard it." Tears burned her eyes. "Then why did you let me stay?" "Because I believed you came for revenge." The word hung heavy. "And I deserved it." She shook her head. "I did not come to destroy you." "Then why?" he asked quietly. She finally let the truth breathe. "My father was that man." The silence that followed was absolute. "You protected him," she continued. "Even when your own people turned. Even when it cost you power." Her voice broke. "You were the only one who tried to save him." His hands clenched. "I failed." "No," she said fiercely. "You did not." She inhaled, shaking. "I came to understand the man everyone blamed. The man everyone feared." Her gaze held his. "And I stayed because I saw who you really were." He closed his eyes, the weight crashing in. "You were never my weakness. You were the truth coming back to test me." Tears slid down her cheeks. "And I fell in love with you anyway." He reached for her, stopping inches away. "You should hate me." She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "I could not. Because you already carry the guilt." He exhaled a broken sound. "You leaving broke something in me." Her voice softened. "I left because I thought loving you would destroy you." He finally touched her hand, fully this time, steady cert. "Loving you saved me." The car remained still as the fog rolled in around them. Two lives twisted by the same loss. Finally facing each other without secrets. And in that moment, both understood. The fall in the library had not been random. It had been history returning. Truth colliding. Fate demanding an answer. And neither of them could walk away from it again. The estate did not feel the same when they returned. It was quieter, not with fear, but with waiting. As if the walls themselves understood that something final had been decided. Elena stepped inside beside him, not behind, not hidden. For the first time, she did not lower her gaze. Guards noticed. Staff noticed. The world shifted. He did not release her hand. Not out of possession. Out of choice. The library waited. The room where silence had once ruled. Where control had been everything. Sunlight poured through the tall glass panels, touching the marble floor, warming the air. The automated cleaner stood idle near the rug. Elena looked at it and felt a quiet ache bloom into a smile. "This is where it began," she said. He nodded. This is where I broke the rule that kept me alive. She turned to him and found something better. He met her gaze, steady, unguarded. I spent my life believing power meant never bending, never reaching, never needing. He inhaled slowly. Then you fell into me. And my body remembered something before fear. She stepped closer. You remembered care. His throat tightened. I remembered that I could be held without losing myself. The words settled deep. He lowered himself onto the sofa and extended his hand toward her. This time deliberately. She took it. No hesitation. No Flynn. Just trust. Elena sat beside him, feeling the strength of his presence not as danger, but as shelter. He rested his forehead against hers, breathing steady. I cannot promise the world will be kind. She smiled softly. It never was. I cannot promise there will be no blood in my past. Her voice was calm. I am not afraid of where you came from. He closed his eyes. I can promise this. He lifted his head, eyes clear. I will never ask you to disappear again. Her breath caught. And I will never leave because of fear. The moment stretched quiet, full, alive. Outside, the ocean moved endlessly. Inside, something healed. In the months that followed, change came not loudly but surely. Rivals were dismantled. Alliances redefined. Violence narrowed, then eased. He did not step away from power. He reshaped it. Elena stood beside him, not as a shadow, but as a compass. The man who once ruled through isolation learned restraint was strongest when shared. And the woman who once survived by staying invisible learned that being seen did not always mean being destroyed. 1 year later, the library looked different. Chairs angled closer. Light warmer. The automated cleaner placed deliberately wrong. Elena laughed when she saw it. You did this. He smiled, something rare and open. I wanted to remember the fall. She stepped into his arms willingly. This time there was no stumble. No accident. Only choice. He held her securely without fear. Fall again, he murmured. I will always catch you. She rested her head against his chest. You already do. And in that quiet room where control once ruled, love stood unafraid. Not loud. Not perfect. But real. And for the man who once whispered, don't you dare leave in panic, he now said it in certainty. Because this time, she stayed.